like 3 chapters to finish that up.
Tite Kubo looks like a thick Tetsuya Nomura.
Boy looking thick. Cheeked up. I can't.
What's the word? It is Lord Third, your number one trash player, aka the Garbage Goat, aka the Lost Boss, aka Lena's Bay, and I'm here with
the King of Dreams, looking so mean, looking so lean. Call me the Ranger, looking better than a stranger. Me, and I'm looking so clean. And we are the
SLY Guys, delivering the hottest of hot takes on all things nerdy and culture. And we're back, episode 22.
And part 3 of our COVID-19 lockdown. Mm-hmm. And we've been making the most of this, and I hope that some of you guys are doing the same. And if you are like me and Lord Third, we have been binging certain TV shows. We didn't bother with Tiger King because our IQs couldn't stand losing any more points. Even just talking about it again. But when you talk about Hunting for Akira, what's more fun than that? Hunting for Nazis. I finally finished watching Hunters. Finally finished watching it.
After a month of prodding.
Yeah, after a month. I'm lazy, guys. I'm sorry. The Corona's taught me one thing. It's not that I don't have any time. It's that I just don't care.
That's fair.
I'm just like the rest of you guys.
That is fair indeed. But yes, you finished Hunters. So initial reactions. You're up 3. You're down 3. What are your initial reactions?
Yeah, and for those that don't know, we'll give you a brief overview of what the show is about. We have our main protagonist, Jonah, who is thrust into a world of Nazi hunters after his grandmother is brutally murdered. When we take this journey of trying to of self-discovery, of passion, revenge, justice, questions are put into play, plots are put in motion, and this chess game, which is very thrown in your face, pieces moving on the board, is put into motion in trying to thwart an overall plot as many pieces and many different, I'd say, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, anyway.
I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for.
Well, we don't know what we're looking for because, if you know, like my lost words, we're looking for lost Nazis. So that's how that works. Anyway, that's the story in a nutshell. We're going to talk about spoilers a little bit, so I'm going to give you a slight spoiler warning. If you do not want to know about the show, we'll probably put a time code in this somewhere. If not, we'll keep the spoilers very light as well. But you have been warned. Possible spoilers going forward.
Yes.
So, first off, my top 3 favorite characters. First off, I love the story was hit and miss for me, because it felt like sometimes the monster of the week, kind of like with the Blacklist, Leverage, House, where they have a Nazi to catch, and there's some overall working plot that they're working towards as they get to that goal. I didn't mind that because it's crammed 10 episodes of stuff in there. But I wish they would have picked one or the other because I feel like this plot kind of got muddled with doing that.
Yeah, it also overall, the thing is, it also departed from that, you know, the Nazi of the episode or Nazi of the week vibe like halfway through the season.
Right.
So yeah, it even like it didn't even really have that convention after a while. So yeah, that was a whole other thing.
Exactly, and it felt as if once I got comfortable with the Nazi of the week, it went to big main plot, and it's like, okay, that didn't feel organic. At least to me, it didn't, because they still tried to have both halfway through, and it just felt like disconjointed as far as story wise. Because like we have this overarching plot, we're still hunting Nazi of the week. At least when Blacklist did it, we knew that each person led to something bigger. This one, it didn't feel like that. It just didn't. And we didn't learn too much about individual characters. We mainly explored Jonah throughout the entire thing, which at first I didn't care for Jonah. I really didn't. And but I'll get back to Jonah. So top 3 characters: Greg Austin, who plays Travis, is my favorite character. I think he did a fantastic job. Every time he was on the screen, he caught my attention. He is a Nazi piece of shit. Excuse my language. However, what a lovable piece of shit, though. What a lovable piece of shit.
I think that's
he wants to belong.
A number of things that you never want to like say out loud is what a lovable Nazi piece of shit. Like,
yeah, and quote me on that one because I'm probably gonna burn for it later. But Greg did it. Travis as a character was fantastic. Every time he's on the screen, he caught my attention.
Yeah,
I wanted to know what he was thinking.
Yeah, like you really despise the dude, but he was threatening. Like, you know, I think that was.
And he was compelling too. Mm-hmm. He was compelling. Like, I understood why he was doing what he did. I understood it. Like his whole monologue about natural selection. I don't agree with what he was saying, but he did make good points. But in the way he said it, it was how he even presented the whole argument. I was like, wow, what a deep character. But as you dig deeper through the episodes, he's even being ostracized because he's not full German because he grew up in America. And he even says, like, we took it one step further. He's like, you know, Americans do this. I'm the new version of you. And which brought a whole new level of the character.
And especially you contrast him with like someone like you see that like the Colonel, you see that she's like the quote unquote big bad of the season, and she's kind of like the stereotypical like super Nazi person, but like not that like Travis is like the character of Travis was like nuanced quote unquote, but there was a bit more depth to him, whereas the Colonel, she was like much more mustache twirly as a villain. And then you had Dylan Baker, who plays like he's Biff. Yeah, Biff. He's like a congressman who is a Nazi defector, or not a Nazi defector, but he is he's an opportunist. He's an ex-Nazi. Yeah, he's an ex-Nazi who is now he's a Nazi in hiding as a U.S. congressman. That's the way it's it. Because he's not an ex-Nazi, because he still believes in the ideology. He's still a Nazi. But he's just kind of like he's more of the opportunist. And he's spineless. That's his whole thing. Is like like I don't have any respect for Biff's character.
No, but I'll come back to Biff. But Travis, definitely favorite character throughout the entire show. He stole the show for me. I couldn't wait to see him back on screen. Even his spouting his warped ideology. Whenever he said it, it captivated me. Whatever he did, it just was. He was fantastic. Greg Austin, if you're listening to this, you did a fantastic job. I think that you deserve whatever award they give for shows like this for that character.
Yeah.
Number one, my favorite character out of that.
Yeah.
Number 2, Meyer. Meyer was my second favorite character, played by Al Pacino. Al Pacino does a fantastic job. And the reason I like him, and this is a slight spoiler warning, because he plays... there's a twist at the end where you find out that he's not all that he seems, which you've given clues throughout of that whole entire fact. But he plays it so well that you don't think anything of it. And that's something that you don't see very often. Al Pacino does a good job. This up there with Heat for me.
Wow.
As far as like movies, Al Pacino. I thought it was that good, especially with the final scene. And that's what did it for me. I was like, this puts me in the level of Heat for Al Pacino. He did such a phenomenal job at the end where he is just confronting Jonah. And he's just like, I don't deserve this. And this is like, and you can just see it. He's just breaking down. And it's just like, damn.
Yeah, I think the way that he pushes... Jonah in the series, like like there's a lot of conviction in that, and I think it's just like the way that he like really, because he creates, like he makes Jonah into a hunter, and I think that's the thing that like, that's what the whole story is hinged on, is these Nazi hunters, and so like the way that he creates the hunter, he brings the hunter out of Jonah is, I think is very well done.
Especially when you get to the twist at the end, it's jaw dropping. At least for me, it was. So the clues were there the entire time. However, it was just so well done. Now, third favorite character. Now, I know you hate this guy, but Dylan Baker's Biff Simpson he made me laugh.
Get the.
He was such a joy to watch on screen, because like the way he was so spineless, like every time he's on screen, like especially when he was in front of the president, how he hammed it up about pushing the bill forward after he just said veto it.
Yeah,
I couldn't help but smile. The guy was
top three characters though. Top three characters, really?
Top
three characters.
Top three.
Get out of here.
Top three. I know 2 of them are Nazi. Actually, all
that gets the down. But all right.
Yeah. All right. What are your top 3?
My top 3. Honestly, I would put Meyer Offerman up there as number 1. I think
I think we both agree on why.
Yeah, he just did a great job. I would have put Greg Austin's character Travis Leach up there at 3, because I really liked his portrayal. But my thing is, I think between Kate Mulvaney's character, Sister Harriet, because Sister Harriet was a badass character. And she also didn't take any.
Layered.
Yeah, she was layered, and she also like didn't take any crap from anybody. And I think that was like, I think she kind of like gave Jonah a spine more than Meyer did, because Meyer kind of babied Jonah for a large part of the series.
100%.
And
actually, the whole series to the end.
And so like for that reason, I really liked Sister Harriet's character, because like she was badass, like she acted like a badass, but she could also back it up, like she was badass. And so that was the thing that I liked about her character, was because she was like straight to it, straight down to business, and get stuff done. As number 2, and
she's also very thick.
What'd you say?
She's very thick.
Moving on, I think
I was hoping you wouldn't catch that, but
anyway. But yeah, I think I would say that she would have been she would have been number 2 for me. I like Biff was funny, but I wouldn't put him like, man, I love that character. No,
because here's what I love. Let me defend myself. Let me explain why I loved Biff Simpson, because I kind of just glossed over. The fact that Dylan could go from hammy American to sinister Nazi with a drop of a hat, I thought was phenomenal. The first scene, he goes from being this hammed up congressman, and then all of a sudden gets outed as Nazi, turns into this cold-blooded Nazi murder at the drop of a hat, and goes on a killing spree, and then flips it right back. What I love about him is that he's spineless. He can go back and forth. The fact that he can go from hammy congressman to sinister Nazi, I thought every scene he did that added such a layer of drama to it, because you know he could do it, but he chooses not to. But the fact that he has his own ambitions gives him his own agency, which causes problems for both sides. As he tries to do some stuff for himself, made it a character I was always interested in watching what would happen.
Right.
So he was dynamic, which is why I love him. And he entertained me, man. He was so entertaining. Every time he was on screen, Like, people would call him out on this BS too. And that was the great part. He was like,
funny.
And?
Like, it was, like, some of those scenes were hilarious. Like, the
hilarious. like when the Congresswoman called him, like, you son of a bitch. And I was just like, that was me watching it. And he looked at her like he looked at the crowd, just like, and are you going to stop me? No. He put his hand on his chest, and that's what I believe this country's for. The great old red, white, and blue. And I couldn't help but smile and laugh.
Right.
I couldn't help it. He hammed it up so much, but then the next scene, when she confronts him, he's still hamming it up, and then all of a sudden goes sinister with the accent without skipping a beat. And it's like, I will kill you. And then goes back, we should do this again sometime. Like, holy crap. So that's why I like Biff is number 3. So what's your third one?
So I think between it's kind of tied between Greg Austin's character Travis, and Jerrica Hinton. Like, I really appreciated her take, like, as a character. I think Travis's character was better. And was definitely played better, but I don't know. I think that there was a certain dynamic that Jerrica Hinton added. I think with her character, also given the context of her character, because for context, Jerrica Hinton plays Millie Morris, who is she's a black female FBI agent.
Not just a female FBI agent. She's also
she's also a lesbian. So like there's interesting kind of like social dynamics at play with her being there, and there's also just kind of like there's this interesting like kind of like cat and mouse game that is being played, because there are Nazis that have infiltrated the U.S., but there are also these Nazi hunters that are killing people, like cold, like murdering people. And granted, like it's a quote unquote trial for the crimes that they committed during World War II. But
she doesn't know that. They're still killing
but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But there's a point where like because she is doing her job as an officer of the law, but there's also like very clearly like Nazis involved in the U.S. government. So it was interesting because she was kind of stuck in this position, and it was interesting seeing how she dealt with that. And I don't know, just kind of like the I would say the realism that she brought to that character, that she brought to Millie Morris. There were some times where I felt like they were kind of like playing on it a little bit too much. And I think, 100%. but I don't think that was her fault. I think that was more of just like the writing, the writing of the show. Because what you also find out is that like, because she just had, I think you see that she as a character just has a lot of crap on her shoulders. In that like she has a mother who's got like a terminal illness, and like her father is blaming her for not spending time while she's like doing her job and all this stuff. And so it's just very, it was just very tense, kind of like, her having to try and put on this tough, straight face in the midst of like all of this like wild stuff that's happening. And so, but I just thought, like I really liked her character, and it was really tough kind of watching her character too, because of the tough position that she was in. But she carried through with it, and she played that role. So she did, and to add on to that, she brought a lot of questions about what is justice, what is revenge, to Jonah, our protagonist, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. I didn't agree with her because I thought the way that they portrayed what she was doing wasn't nearly effective, but she still brought the argument, because even if it's not the most efficient, it's still the right thing to do. Right. And that was, at the end of the day, her thing. It might not be the most efficient, but it is the right thing to do. And she stood by that, and I thought that was admirable, even though I didn't agree with all of it, because the show goes out of its way to show that she's flawed. Like, I felt the show went out of its way to show that her way was not the way to go. And again, that's the writing, not her character. Right.
because it felt like sometimes the show was literally shooting her in the foot. It was like, oh, see, you got to go for the Nazi killers, not the FBI agent. And it's like, I get it. Like, we want to side with the vigilantes, but damn, like, you don't have to like push it down my throat so hard that FBI is kind of incompetent and corrupt. Right. Like, you're making like Millie's life was just tough. Like, every person is an infiltrator that she deals with. Right. You know, and they would almost put out of her way to make sure that every person she talked to was somehow involved in some Nazi plot that would somehow discredit the system, which not realistic. I mean, you could argue both ways. Right.
You could, but yeah, I think, but yeah, like you said, it was just like she was just. I think she was just in. Like Millie's character was Millie was just in a hard place, right? Like it, and so
hard place,
and that was the whole thing. I think Jerrica Hinton portrayed that well. Of yeah,
I think she did. I think she did. She's still not top 3, but
she gets runner up for me. I think the major thing that took away from her character was just how they wrote some of like her interactions throughout the season.
Yeah, it didn't feel natural. It didn't feel natural. It felt flip floppy, which. What was supposed to happen, but again, it felt so ham-fisted. Like, please believe this. It took me out of the whole show because I was like, how do you feel this way 1 minute and then this way another minute?
Yeah, with no clear in between was the thing, you know, because I think because just the way that they wrote certain scenes, it was just weird. You know, it was just weird the way that worked out, because and the reason why I believe that it was that a lot of it was kind of like the writing and kind of like the way that they put characters together, because you would see certain characters in certain scenes and they're doing like it's just a really good scene, and then you would see them in a scene with someone else and then it just seemed awkward. There's something just seemed off, right? And sometimes like 2 actors in a scene could be doing great, but then in another scene, the same actors in that scene, it just seems like a horrible scene. So like, I just felt like there was a disconnect sometimes with either what was written or how it was directed, you know, to do. But yeah, I think that even despite those things, I think it was overall pretty good.
Yeah, Millie, I think Jerrica did a phenomenal job portraying Millie. I just wish Millie was just written better, or just written more in a way that was consistent. And people can argue she was consistent the whole time. The situation she was dealing with was just, they really just wanted to ham-fist that we shouldn't believe in the system. Right. And even at the end, spoiler alert here, when she goes to make a deal with Travis, he even makes a comment to even drive it home from the writers. He's like, what would Jonah feel if he knew you're making a deal with me because they're going to silence you? And just to drive it on home again, that FBI is not efficient.
Yeah. Yeah.
And her whole point was, you know, believe in me, let me do this. And don't get me wrong, you could see it from both sides of being more realistic. It just felt like the writers did everything possible to show, or to at least portray her almost incompetently. Yeah. But competently at the same time, and it just didn't. It didn't mix well. I don't believe it did.
And I think that was one of the weaknesses of the show. I feel like was I left a lot of episodes kind of like, okay, well, what are you trying to drive home here? Like, what is the story that you're trying to tell? Like, because I felt like you said, like the inconsistency in a lot of like. In her character progression is there's a lot of that inconsistency in a lot of other characters, and so I think that was the thing that was frustrating, is that I think the premise of the show is great. There are definitely some great moments in the show, but the way that certain like things progressed, like it just didn't make sense. Like I feel like some characters would take 2 steps forward and then 5 steps back.
Jonah was one of the biggest perpetrators of that. Where one episode he's gun ho about killing Nazis, next thing you know he's questioning his own reality. Right. Whether killing or not is the right thing to do. And don't get me wrong, that can happen, especially if you're going down that path of killing someone who's an adolescent. But it would be so back and forth, because at the end of the episode, it'd be about, I want to kill Nazis again. Okay, you can't just go back and forth like that, like the drop of a hat. Now, I do like that the writing was self-aware enough to try to combat these things. Like, Sister Harriet is probably number 4 for me as far as favorite characters, because she would call this stuff out as if we were sitting there with her. Like, you can't do this. You can't be like this. You're going to get us all killed. And Jonah's behavior did end up in harming a lot of people. And Harriet called it out. She did. So I felt, but the thing is that, like, just because you call it out in the writing from another character doesn't make it okay still. Because even with Millie, the flip-flopping of her character, she's supposed to be the one that's supposed to represent justice. Yet, however, when it came down to it, I guess it was a defining moment for me where I was like, they don't know what to do with Millie. Or I thought it was supposed to be a changing portion for Millie, and they kind of dropped the ball on it. Spoiler alert again, was when she arrested Meyer on false charges to get something out of him because she knew something was going on in the house. So she blurred that line of what is really just to obtain justice. You know, a character developing moment for Millie. Because she's trying to achieve justice by any means necessary. So is she really different from the Nazi killers? Right. But then she has him, she's trying to get him, but then once stuff starts exploding, she lets him go right away. He doesn't even have an argument. His argument is not even really, he almost confesses without confessing that he's a part of something. Right. And it wasn't like, it didn't feel natural for her to let him go and work with him. It didn't feel that way. She could have just handcuffed him and left it handled on her own. Things are exploding. You don't need him to do it anymore. You don't need him. You already have enough evidence. At this point, things in the city are blowing up. His house blew up. Clearly something's going on. But then she's all of a sudden like, okay, I'm going to work with you. Because he's like pleading with her. It didn't feel natural. It really didn't. I would have rather had her say, you're really arrested now. Because we're going to investigate this. But I'm going to handle this right now. Because she didn't make a bad call. Like, if you look at it from her point of view, they tried to frame it as if she made a bad call. But from everything that she's seen, from her point of view, she didn't. But all of a sudden she's questioning if she did. And I didn't agree with that. Like, I saw what she saw. If I was her as FBI agent, if anything, Meyer, you're more than guilty now. I can't prove it yet. But you're more than guilty. I'm not working
exactly,
with
and I think at that point there was nothing that she was. If I recall correctly, there wasn't anything that he had been honest about up until that point. There wasn't anything that showed her that he was actually going to be able to do anything about what was happening at the time.
Right, he just said, "Let me go."
Like that was all he said. And I think that was the thing that was. I think that was the thing that was frustrating because, like you said, like the way that they shot it and the way that they framed it was as if like she had made the mistake of arresting him, as if Meyer was going to be the one that disabled the bomb. His entire team was free,
working without him. They messed up. They didn't need him to be there. And so, like, when you watch that scene, you're sitting there confused because Millie is like, "Did I make a bad call?" It's like, no,
you did your job. You did, and you did what you should have in a case where you clearly have the person who is behind these murders that you're investigating. You made the call that made sense. Like, yeah.
And on top of that, like, if anything, it should give her more conviction to stop these Nazi hunters because had they not pushed the Nazis, they wouldn't be blowing up stuff like they were. Like, I expected Millie to be more convicted to say, like, you stay here, I'm going to arrest everybody else, and then Jonah be the one to convince her otherwise. Like, I would have rather had that happen. Because that was a relationship that was established, because those two were the ones that were on the line of, you know, what's vengeance versus justice.
Exactly.
So, Janika, if you're listening to this, I think you did a phenomenal job acting as Millie. I think the writers didn't do you justice as far as what your character could have done, answering that question of that middle ground of what's justice versus vigilante, what's good versus bad. I mean, we've already answered these questions watching Batman. So, I mean, like it's nothing new, but at least when you watch Batman, there is a clear line between it. Batman does what he does as a because cops can't do what he does. There's nothing Millie couldn't have done that the crew didn't do already, except murder, of course. And so, yeah, Millie got done dirty in that, and that was one of the things about the show where it left a poor taste in my mouth, because even throughout the show, she's supposed to be that moral high ground of this is what justice is, but throughout the entire show, we're just seeing that it's inadequate. It's unorganized. It doesn't get the job done, and the only people that are getting the job done are the Nazi killers. So it's like the show is,
and that's not even true, because the Nazi killers failed on multiple counts.
They did, but the thing was, they still got something done. Like when we watch Millie do her job, like she barely stays alive. She's getting hit from angle to angle, but she never brings anybody in. She only brought Travis in because Jonah didn't kill him. She didn't stop the plot. They didn't show. Let me finish the point. They didn't show that justice to the system was the better option, because that's what they were trying to go for. But in this argument about whether it's revenge or justice, what is justice? Do we go through the system, or do the people handle the job, or do the people take things in their own hands? That argument of, do the people do it in their own hands, or does the system take care of it? The show stacks the vengeance side to a disgusting degree, and then expects you to believe that the system will handle it. And they set Millie for failure that way, which is what I don't appreciate. Right. Because through each step, we're rooting for her because, she's supposed to represent the system. But then someone else is a double agent in the system. Oh, that person got away. But then you see the vengeance side. Even though the Nazi hunters messed up, they still got a Nazi. Even if they messed up. And that doesn't equate to which side is better, because Millie didn't get anything. Yep. That's what I'm saying.
Well, we don't want to belabor the point anymore. I think we've argued enough that some of the characters were written poorly and written into some corners. But there were some characters that we didn't care for
have no redemption.
Had no for redemption. Various reasons.
For this round, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little back and forth. Lord Third, you go first. What was your least favorite character? Number one least favorite character.
I think my least favorite character of the entirety of the cast was probably I really didn't like Lonnie Flash, Josh Radnor's character. Like
How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, like Ted Mosby. Ted Mosby it wasn't that he did a bad job at his character. It was just like, what are you trying to establish with this character? Because his whole thing was he was this big, and I say big in quotes, Jewish actor. Yeah, action star.
Right? That's action star. He made that a point. And he did some rated R stuff too, because they alluded to him doing some stuff he wasn't very proud of either.
Yeah, it was whatever. It didn't really go into details about that, but I think that was more just kind of like a running gag. But the other thing was, I think they tried to. So it's revealed that at some point, like, he probably was like he's a recovering alcoholic, probably a recovering drug addict at some point. So the whole thing is, like, you have multiple scenes where he's kind of being pushed to his limit of, like, dude, I could really use a drink right now because things are going sideways and people aren't, like, kind of like respecting me. And I think I just really, like, I just disliked a lot of, like, I don't know, like, a lot of the scenes that he was in, I just really disliked. Not to say that I hated his character, or that I hated his portrayal, but I just felt like Lonnie was there in a lot of places, and it was just like, why? Like, what is he here for? Like, what? Like, who was it that said, "Hey, let's invite this guy to be a Nazi killer, because he doesn't have any like training in guns or anything like that. And in the montage of like what everyone's like abilities or skills are, you know, they do like a Guy Ritchie type, you know, rundown of who everybody is at the beginning. And I like they make it seem like he's kind of like the grifter. Like he puts on it, like he's able to like change makeup and do all this acting stuff, and he's not really that great at that. And that's the thing that like I think that's the thing that kind of annoyed me, was like I had the impression that like these guys were like good at what they do, and Lonnie Flash is just kind of all right at what he does. And I think that was the thing that kind of annoyed me, is that in all of this, like Lonnie kind of barely does anything.
No, he does absolutely. He doesn't do absolutely nothing. However, he is useless. Even when his character, when he's called to action, he's looking at it like, "Oh, it's my turn." Yes, mother effer.
I can think of one scene. I can think of one scene where he kind of like, where he like, I don't know, where he added some value to it, and that was like when they're doing like a bank heist, and that was the only time where it was like, oh wow, this was good. He had a little bit of redemption, kind of like later in the season, but like. Oh, overall, there were just a lot of scenes where I just felt like, why are you here? Like Logan, I felt like Logan Lerman as Jonan was kind of like doing more than Lonnie Flash, who had been here a while. And so, I don't know. For me, he was probably like my least liked character. Remember, again, I didn't hate him. I mean, he was okay, but like he just kind of seemed like, bro, why are you here?
That's how I felt with the majority of him in throughout the entire thing. Because there are a couple scenes where it was just like, dude, this is your job. This is what we have you for on the squad. And he's like apprehensive about it and like not volunteering, or just people are just looking at him just like, we don't have this guy on the crew for this very reason.
Right.
And some of the stuff was over the top, and it was like he was complaining about some stuff. Some stuff he said was funny, but some of the stuff it was just like, dude, this is literally your one job. Espionage, covert operation. That's literally what you do. Like, just do it. Like, and he only did like 2, like, and he only acts as himself. He only dressed up at the end.
Right.
And I think that's really it. He only any one person besides himself was at the end. I think he dressed up as a robber, but he put a mask on, and he was still quoting his own movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who did recruitment, but I would not recruit this guy. He's not Black Ops material. Like, I just don't get it. And it takes you out of the whole entire show, because you're like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Why are you here? Now, I will say to Lord's list that, Lonnie Flash, what is on my, least favorite list of characters, but he's not the worst. For me, it's Roxy Jones. Roxy, unfortunately, first off, played every black single woman stereotype in the show. And I hated it. Because it was just like, yeah, I'm a single mother. What? It's like, no one even asked. What are you talking about? Like,
right. Like, I don't...
Like,
I was like, okay, we get it. She's a strong, independent black woman.
She's independent.
Like, I don't know
like her whole intro.
Like, I don't know any black woman that's going to give you the entire history of their oppression in their introductory.
Well, the introduction was so cringeworthy. I was just like, bro, I get it. She's black in the 60s. I get it. Damn.
Okay.
Let me learn the character. And she just became that. That's all she was. But then she was supposed to be like some lock-picking, like, super thief. First off, who's never killed anybody, which is not hard to believe, but the way she'd be talking, and they talk about this later in the series, you would think that she'd be pretty good about death. First off, they don't need her. She leaves for literally 3 episodes, I believe, and nothing changes with her operations. Nothing changes with her operations. So she's useless. She brings nothing to the table as far as any philosophical background except, I gotta take care of my daughter. We get it, you're a single mom. I get it. Stop it. Why'd you take this job if that was a concern? You know you're killing people, and you're listening to the line, and you're worried about not making home to your daughter? Why'd you take the job? You can't write in there, oh, I'm a badass black female, single mom, superpower, black power, all this other stuff, and all of a sudden, I fear for my life because I won't make it home to my daughter. Then why are you in this business? I don't get it. Like, you can't have both. And so, like, that upset me. But then we find out she can't fight. Because in one scene, she fights a Nazi and gets lucky. Like, she can't fight either. Like, she can fight in the street. Maybe. I'm not even sure at this point, because the way she was fighting, she couldn't do nothing. Nothing. So I don't know why they recruited her. But she ended up killing someone that was going to kill her, and she's an existential crisis and leaves the group.
Right.
The group that kills Nazis.
Right.
How do you feel about death when you are in a group about killing Nazis? Are you and she was the only one that did it. Jonah is the only one I give a mulligan to because Jonah didn't know what he was doing. Roxy was paid and recruited by Meyer fully knowing they were killing people and that your life was on the line. And constantly she's reminding people, this is not what I signed up for. It's exactly what you signed up for. It sounds stupid when she keeps going back and forth with these people about what the job they're trying to do. Right. And it makes no sense. And then when she kills someone, she finds out it's her first kill ever. Her first kill ever. She's existential crisis talking about this isn't what I signed up for. Are you out of your mind? You are a part of a group that hunts and kills Nazis. And you are upset you killed a Nazi? Why are you here? And then she's gone for 3 episodes and nothing changes about the group. And I was like, you are the most useless character I've ever seen. And then they do approach that whole thing about, she's never killed anybody. She has a pretty bad holding a gun in her hand until she had to kill somebody. But again, you were recruited by a group that literally their job is to kill Nazis, and you never thought about how you feel about killing somebody? Like, for real, though? And then this whole thing is, my daughter. But you take a job that requires you to kill Nazis? Really? You really care about your daughter that much? And then you can be mad at your employer, the one that gives you the money, about how he makes you do what he hired you to do. Killing Nazis. It's a problem. It's a little health hazard, and you're upset. Excuse my language. Go fuck yourself. Roxy Jones is my least favorite character because her whole existence is a stereotype. It's meant to say like we have representation. It feels like, which we covered with Millie already. Right. We had to get the single. We had to get the single mother in there because they throw it in your face that she's a single mother, and they do not let you forget that.
Like, don't forget.
They do not. She's a strong black, independent, single mother who is taking care of her daughter, who's being raised by her grandparents. By the way, I don't know if you can see my eye roll on this side, but they throw that in your face and they keep that in there. Which I'm not knocking any single mother during that time period, but I know that any single mother would not sign up for a job that put their life on the line, killing freaking Nazis. Because why? You might not make it back. And if you did sign up for a job, that wouldn't be your first concern of, I'm not going to make it back. Then why the hell did you sign up? Why? It was voluntary. Voluntary. Turns out she didn't know what Nazis were. If I remember correctly, she just wanted to be a badass and he had enough money to take care of her and her daughter. She had no stake in the game. Her character is that one-dimensional. And you might want to say, it's multi-dimensional. No, it's not. Because we only see one scene with her and her daughter, at least as I recall. It's after she killed the Nazi, she crawls in the bed with her daughter, who's sleeping, by the way, and then she wakes up to her mother just clutching her in her arms with her bloody hands. Way to tamper with a murder scene. I can't stand Roxy. And on top of that, like, she can't fight, doesn't know how to operate arms that well, she's afraid to kill, and on top of that, when she was gone for those several episodes, 3, I think in total, nothing changed with the group. They still went to operations and actually did better without her there.
And I think that's the biggest problem with like these. So with both her and Lonnie, that was like the thing. Like what the biggest question is asking, like, why are you guys here, and how did you get involved in this? Like because they both talk up a lot of like they talk a lot.
Way
and
too
then
much
they don't
game.
do anything. Like that's the thing that annoyed me.
It's unprompted either. No one asked them any questions. Yeah. Like the only person that asked was the audience, but the audience asked, and the writers like, we gotta explain why these people are here, and they just throw it in your face like, oh, Lonnie's an action star, Roxy's a badass, and then I kid you not, single mother. Like we can't, like we get it, like. I don't know if it was episode 4 or 5 where it was like, bro, I am sick of hearing about the single mother stuff. I get it. But, like, there's nothing to them except that one quirk that they have. And that's it.
Yep. So that was our overall thoughts of Hunters. I think, overall it was an entertaining show. It was fun to watch. It suffered from some pacing issues, and some of the characters just seemed superfluous and super cliche. But it was fun. It was fun to watch. That I can say.
It was. I will recommend it for anyone that is in the quarantine. Take one episode per day. Watch it. You won't regret it. I think that at the end of the day, it's overall a phenomenal show. Despite the stuff, I think Jonah goes through a phenomenal arc as well. We didn't get through it today, but I think that any person that's wanting to watch it should definitely do that because it's great watching people find love, happiness, and redemption. Speaking of redemption, some people believe that some person in particular deserves redemption. Someone like Yamcha from Dragon Ball. Oh yeah, we're going there, people. We're going into the archives today. Lockdown edition. Let's go. So we took a look at a Screen Rant article today, and it was talking about how Yamcha has been disrespected throughout the entire series of DBZ and DBS, and in this next arc needs a redemption. Lord, I'm gonna let you take this one. You start this one off. I can't even.
Like, so going beyond the obvious question that should be asked of why would Dragon Ball be having another anime? Answering the initial statement that Dragon Ball's next anime needs to redeem Yamcha. What? Why? Like, why? Like,
but why?
Yamcha knows his place. Yamcha knows that he's never going to be Goku or Vegeta. I think they even say that in this article. They even say that here. So they say Yamcha is never going to catch up to Goku and Vegeta, but the size and scope of the Tournament of Power and the Galactic Patrol Prisoner Saga have made it clear that there are multiple other ways that supporting characters can be used effectively. How? Like,
exactly how?
You have, like, I'll give you this. Yamcha is probably one of the top 3. I think it's established at this point because of Super that he's like top 3 Earthlings in terms of like power level. I'll give you that. But when you start dealing with the gods of a universe, when you deal with multiverses, and you have people who can destroy an entire universe, bro, what you gonna do with that? What are you gonna do with that?
What are you gonna do? Because when was the last time Yamcha was doing anything?
I don't get it.
When was the last time Yamcha was doing anything? Let's start there.
The last time he was doing anything was when he was dating Bulma, and that was before Dragon Ball Z.
He got bodied by Android 20, Dr. Giro. One strike, by the way. And after that, he did a little bout with Cell and some filler BS. But that was it. After he got bodied, he didn't do anything else. He knew where he was. He said, look, it's Vegeta, Goku's show. If anyone doesn't have blonde hair, there's no point in me fighting Tien. You waste your time, Krillin, you waste your time. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be a professional player, make money, and hit women. That's it. That's it. Yamcha never wanted a redemption. He never wanted a redemption. He's done fighting. He doesn't care to fight anymore. He really doesn't care to fight anymore. Why does Yamcha need a redemption? You know who needs a redemption? Gohan.
Yeah.
Gohan needs a redemption before Yamcha does. What is Yamcha gonna do? What is he gonna do? Well, Fang Fist. God King. Hakai. Like what's he gonna do?
Like, see, and because the thing is, like, it's not like this is like Rock Lee in the Naruto universe or something like that. Like in like Naruto, like Rock Lee, like he has like the
he cut Madara in half.
Yeah,
he
like
cut Madara in half.
Rock Lee, the whole thing is like in like Naruto, for instance, like all of these people, like you're ninja, right? Like you can train to like get to these certain levels. But the moment that they establish that there are Saiyans and all of this stuff, like all of that went out the window. There is none of that anymore. Like once you establish that, if you are not a Saiyan, basically, and if you're not an alien that is already like that has like some sort of innate capacity to be this strong, like what are you even doing? What are you doing?
Or better yet, why are you?
Yeah, there's no what is there to redeem in Yamcha? Because the whole thing is like they're like, I think he said something along the lines of like they've established that supporting characters can't do other things besides like fighting. I'm like, what is there? What else is there in Dragon Ball at this point?
What show are you watching? Because we're not watching the same show. Well, we're definitely not, because like if everyone gets a power boost at points that they can fight Jiren, and this is tournament of power. You got Android 17 who couldn't beat Piccolo, who could barely beat Piccolo with fused with Kami, going toe to toe with Super Saiyan Blue. Get the F out of here! How? Yeah. How? He's stronger than Boo. Android 17 is stronger than Boo. Like what? So look. Take over. I can't.
Yeah, I think
can't.
I
can't.
I tend to not be a proponent of Screen Rant stuff, but I think I'm gonna have to like super fart button this one because this is stupid. This is absolutely stupid. Like,
let's take another step back. How about Krillin, Hercule? At least those two had a hand in defeating Boo. But Yamcha got beat by a Cyberman. He got beat by a Cyberman. Now, don't get me wrong. Does he need redemption from that? Sure. But part of the training arc in the Android Saga was that he didn't care to train. That was his thing. He didn't care to train. Vegeta was outworking him, which is why he stole his girl. Yamcha didn't work hard enough. Like,
I would rather see a redemption arc for Tien and Chaozu before you get a redemption arc for Yamcha.
Tien has earned it. Tien has at least earned it. That he's never stopped training, like ever. And that dude is jacked.
Yeah,
like when you see him with the beater,
and there's no like, and so when I'm thinking like, you want to talk about like people who need a redemption. There's a list of characters that I would rather see a redemption for than Yamcha, of all people. Like I don't hate Yamcha, 100%. Right? Like, Yamcha, he's cool. Let him do his own thing.
Cool I will get a beer with Yamcha. I will get a beer with Yamcha.
I'm not sitting here like, oh snap, this is the moment where Yamcha comes back. To be fair, I'm not watching Dragon Ball anymore anyway. So like, So
you have good taste.
Ultimately, this all means nothing. Like, because even if they didn't, I wouldn't be watching it anyway. But I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, man, Yamcha don't need no redemption, man. What they need to do is just stop making Dragon Ball anime series.
But why would they do that though? When the movies made so much money, Broly was like $1 million to cost to make.
That's a movie though. That's a movie though. Yeah,
yeah. So they're gonna keep making DBS as long as he's making money like it is.
Dude, I mean, I'm not telling people what to do, but my whole thing is like what are you like for people who watch Dragon Ball? Like, what are you still waiting for? Like, I've gone back and I've watched like I've watched like the overall arcs of like Dragon Ball Super, and it is literally the same thing every time. Like they meet somebody stronger. They need one of the Super Saiyans gets a new form. Like they probably get beat at first, and I'm like, oh no, and then he comes back and he's stronger now.
No reason, by the way.
Yeah, like at this point, it's like they went from like Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4, Super Saiyan God.
Which they retcon.
Yeah, which they retcon. Super Saiyan God,
Super Saiyan,
and then Super Saiyan
God, Super Saiyan.
Yeah, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, and then Super Saiyan Ultra Instinct. I'm like, what? Like, what is there left to do? Like, what? I don't get it. Because in like Dragon Ball, see, with every other like shonen anime out right now, they're like all of the main characters are working towards something. Like you got with Deku and or Deku, whatever his name is, and Deku in My Hero, like he's trying to be like the best hero, right? In One Piece, they're trying to find One Piece. In Naruto, he was trying to become the Hokage. Like it goes down the line, right? Like there's something that they're working toward. What are they working toward in Dragon Ball now? Like there's nothing left. There's nothing. Like what is there? What is there to do?
Who's still watching? Let's talk about that because the ratings are through the roof.
We have plenty of friends who are still watching DBS, man.
That's true. They have poor taste.
I'm not gonna say all that, but I am gonna say that y'all need to stop. y'all need to stop right now.
Please, we don't need any more DBS. We really don't, because even the action scenes don't have the same level of direction, impact, or anything like that. And the new forms we keep coming out with just diminish the forms we already have. Yeah. And that's not cool. Like, yeah, Super Saiyan. Did we have that? Yes, we did. It was cool though because no one else was Super Saiyan. Even when we got to the Android Saga and Cell, Goku wasn't the one that beat him. Vegeta got squashed. Gohan was the one that was coming up through age. Like we had SS2, and that was a big deal because, like Gohan was a character that we didn't take seriously before because he, as strong as he was, he never had it controlled. Like thematically, DBZ had different things going on, so even when they had a form change or an upgrade, it was thematically impacting. Like when, like people talk about like Saiyan Saga, Kaioken. Goku died, and they said to prepare for the Saiyan, you need to go to King Kai. King Kai taught him the Kaioken technique and the Spirit Bomb. He used both those in the fight. Both were unsuccessful unless he had teamwork to overcome Vegeta. Okay, thematically it makes sense because what he trained for, specifically for that moment. We go to Frieza Saga. We're being told about the legendary Super Saiyan the whole entire time. Goku uses Kaioken times 20, but then all of a sudden, after his best friend is killed, he awakens in legendary form of Super Saiyan to defeat the tyrant Frieza. Thematically, it makes sense. Android Saga, Super Saiyan is nerfed, but we give some people some, screen time, like Vegeta, and then Future Trunks because it makes sense. When you watch History of Trunks, it makes sense why he can go Super Saiyan, why he's as strong as he is. But it's thematically relevant to that. And then even when you get to Cell, training the hyperbolic time chamber, trying to surpass the level of Super Saiyan, it's not just about a mode change. It's about trying to find another level of how to use the energy they already have. But it turns out the one that had the energy all along wasn't Goku. It was Gohan. He didn't know how to harness the power he already had. So when he went SS2 for the first time, it made sense thematically because he was surpassing. He had that all along. It's not like when Goku was in the Tournament of Power. First off, let's go with Hit. Him versus Hit uses Kaioken with Super Saiyan Blue and beats the power of stopping time. What the fuck is this, JoJo? No. And even JoJo made it make sense. Shit. And then we get to Jiren. Oh yeah, I'm going to use Kaioken plus Super Saiyan Blue, but I have this new form called Ultra Instinct, which gives him hyper senses to dodge any attack, so his body moves freely without his thought, but gives him a power boost to bridge the gap between Super Saiyan Blue and Kaioken to Jiren when Jiren didn't even budge, blocked with one finger. Get the heck out of here! It doesn't make sense thematically. It's just a power up, and we're missing that stuff. People are constantly just like, oh, the power up, but you're missing what made Dragon Ball so great in the first place. Super is just a hollow imitation of what DBZ used to be. I'm not gonna go on this 10-minute rant because I could.
Yeah.
It's bad.
At the end of the day, man, like, let Akira Toriyama do his thing. I mean,
he's still making money.
Yeah. Like, you know, he's doing what I assume that he still loves it. You know, because he's definitely got his millions. What do you think? How much do you think Akira Toriyama is worth?
A couple billion at this point. Let's look it up. Let me look it up. Okay, let me pull it up on the screen.
I don't think it's a couple billion, but he's definitely in the millions. That's for sure. I'm gonna spitball here and say. I'm gonna say 30. He's worth $30 million.
Hey, I'm gonna pull it up.
$30 million.
$50 million.
How much?
Over $50 million.
That's his net worth?
Yep, the net worth of Akira Toriyama is estimated to be over $50 million.
Yeah.
Seems kind of light when you think about it.
I mean, not really. I mean, you got to think about how much like editing and all that stuff makes, you know, because it's not the same. It's not the same as movies, you know.
Definitely got to
pay. Yeah, the manga industry is not the same as like say Hollywood, because you know you could get a deal where you make $100 million over the course of 3 movies or something like that as an actor, but that's because the movie business worldwide is much more lucrative. Like, you know, you got movies making $300 million in like box office sales, you know, regularly and going into the billions. So I can understand that it would be be lower than kind of like what our usual is, but that's a lot for manga. Yeah, I mean, you think about, because I'm pretty sure One Piece is the number one selling manga in the world right now.
One Piece, I remember reading that a couple days ago, and One Piece is still number one as far as highest selling manga in the world.
And then it
not the most popular, but the highest selling.
Yeah. Because this is all based off of like since its publication, which is still kind of crazy, because there's certain manga that's been out for like, I don't know, 30, 40 years that haven't sold as much as One Piece. That's the thing that's wild to me.
Well, when you have as many bounds as One Piece has, it's kind of hard to do. One Piece has been around for a while.
But this is what the thing that I'm saying is that there's manga that has been out way longer than One Piece. Dragon Ball has been out for longer.
So
than One
here's
Piece.
the question:
Dragon Ball has been out.
Hunter x Hunter.
I mean, that's only that.
Hunter x Hunter's been out.
I mean, how many years has Hunter x Hunter been? Because One Piece has been out for 21 years. Or not 21. I think
it's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
23 years, I think.
No, it's 21. 21.
It was released in
anime came out in 1999.
The manga was released in 1997. Or 1997.
23 years. 23 years.
Yeah, I know my One Piece facts, my guy. I
mean, you're the One Piece guru. I'm the Naruto guru.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like One Piece, like with 23 years, I think how Hunter x Hunter came out in, I think it was the 2000s, right? Or no, it was not
Hunter x Hunter
1998.
Yeah, I mean it came out roughly around the same time as One Piece manga wise.
It has, because of like the way that Togashi, because of the way that Togashi, like, he writes it, because he'll work on it and then he'll come back and then he'll go away for a while, just because of like personal stuff. Like, it only has 36 volumes. One Piece has 95.
95, and the story is actually still continuing, and it actually has
continuity.
Oda, like, people are like, Nen is like, sorry, go ahead. Before I go my Nen tangent, like One Piece versus Hunter x Hunter. Nen, it's so cool. Devil fruit, my guy. Devil fruit. Like the rubber fruit, or like the cum fruit, the salt fruit.
Yeah,
you know, sperm fruit.
Don't disrespect Oda like that. I will fight you. Oh
man.
Yeah.
Remember we made a comic of that, or not comic? We made a devil fruit like that. The cum fruit. Salting up your waters from here from East Blue to West Blue.
And that, folks, is where the mind goes. So but One Piece, 95 volumes in 23 years. But there are manga that have been out longer than that. That are not even in the top 10, let alone the ones that are in the top 10 that aren't like up there. So like you got like Doraemon. Doraemon has been out for years. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Fist of the North Star.
And JoJo's Bizarre Adventure just now started getting a lot of traction because of that.
Right. And that's the thing that's like...
Or the remake of the anime. Because remember, it already had an anime.
Yeah, it did have an anime. It also had games. Like, it had anime, it had games. Yeah, like, it's nowhere near, like, as far... Because JoJo's been out for 33 years.
Yeah, they had an anime, video games, already prior to Western influence.
And granted, like, I think again, you got to think, you always got to respect Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball was what made it possible for One Piece to have sold as much as it did. Dragon Ball was what made it possible for this explosion of anime, especially on a worldwide basis. Because if it wasn't for Dragon Ball, like if it wasn't for Toonami, first of all, and like Cartoon Network, and like bringing Dragon Ball to us, like if it wasn't for us coming home after a long day of second grade to Dragon Ball Z, none of this stuff would be as big on a worldwide market if it wasn't for Dragon Ball. So I always gotta respect Dragon Ball for that. But yeah, it's just like it's amazing when you kind of like when you look at what are the best selling like what manga have sold the best. And I feel like the question for me is often why. Like what has made these stories the most successful in appealing to multiple people, right? Because if you're looking at the worldwide market, what is it in these stories that have drawn people to them so much that they're selling like millions of units? They're selling millions of copies.
One of the things that I think of is the couple different things. For example, for Dragon Ball, the ability to grow stronger. Goku's character is always about overcoming obstacles. I don't want to call it an underdog story because I'm kind of jaded to believe that Goku will overcome anything because I've been in the game way longer. But the thing is that Dragon Ball, when you first watched it, there was a lot of emotion that went with it that I think a lot of intellectuals gravitated towards. It was more of a philosophical debate as well as it's a philosophical debate, as far as like what it means to actually fight or be strong. And I think that what made it great in the West was that, first off, the art style, like action scenes, were something we'd never seen before, but it was why they were fighting. Like when you remember why it was so impactful watching Cell defeat Gohan with the father sunk Kamehameha wave, it wasn't about power levels. It wasn't. We don't even care about power levels now today.
Well, I mean, you can't care about them because they don't mean anything anymore. But
they don't mean anything. But the thing is that wasn't what you focused on. You focused on what was representing. Gohan taking his stance as a leader, as a protector of the Earth. A lot of philosophical things. A lot of. I think that's what really set it apart. Because people. I'm a really hardcore Naruto fan. I have my gripes about it. I also have my praises about it. Kishimoto is not the best writer to ever be seen, but I've seen his work evolve over the 15 years I've watched Naruto and read it. And why was that so different? I mainly read the manga versus watching the anime, but I watched the anime too, side by side, until we got to a ton of filler. And when we talk about why is it so impactful, it's the themes that go along with it that hit harder. Because the thing is that Western culture still has Batman and Superman. These two superhero giants. But we have few stories that deal with the underdog. We have few stories that deal with hardship and things that people are dealing with on a personal level. A lot of animes deal with these things, but these are the first ones that made it to the West.
Yeah.
I remember things like Outlaw Star, which were a little higher. Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, and there's a couple other ones that were on Toonami late at night that were over my head. I didn't understand what they were talking about. Watching them again, Doc XI was the other one I was thinking of. Going over ideas of freedom, philosophy about what it means to be free, to be human. Ghost in the Shell is a really big one. What does it mean to be human? I think the reason why anime does so well is because it hits us on a level most cartoons don't. And what we find is we end up asking ourselves these questions. And even though they don't look like us, we don't have these powers, we don't have these things, what we end up finding is that we believe these things and we put ourselves into those positions. I want to be the person that believes in such virtues Naruto does. Or I want to have the tenacity to fight against any sort of injustice, or just fight a strong opponent like Goku does. It's more of a spiritual, intellectual arousal than anything else. And I think that's what makes anime so enticing for a young audience, because it's not everybody. It's really not. But the people that do, I find, tend to have a lot of things in common. They think on a different level. I find that people that like The Matrix also like to watch a couple different animes as well. And The Matrix is people love The Matrix. It brought upon a lot of philosophical ideas that not everyone's on board for. Which anime, I believe, tackles on a regular basis. And these ideas, these philosophical ideas, these emotions, like I know one of the most recent ones was for Demon Slayer. Him fighting the last demon to save his sister. My Hero Academia has All Might fighting All for One with his United States Smash. What do these scenes represent? They represent passion, ideals, clashing against another. Heck, most anime fights are about ideals clashing against one another.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, because I think we could go all day talking about like different like philosophies and things like that, and also just like under
which we will later in other issues,
like in underdog stories as well. I think the other thing too is that like they have, it's just worlds that capture you, right? One Piece, I think one of the major reasons why I love One Piece so much is that it's just like the world is just unique. It has this deep lore that has, it's just 23 years in the making in terms of like the lore and the characters and stuff like that. Like I think it's kind of cool because you have characters who, they could show up one time in like issue like volume 3, and then that person has come back in volume 67, years later, and is somehow integral or connected to the story. And it's just interesting, like kind of like the way that like you kind of care for these one-off side characters. There's something about them, that is, that you're just drawn to it, and you just love the characters. And I think the same thing is true for Dragon Ball. It's just like, you look at like all these different manga, like that are popular. They're notable characters that people like. There are aspects of like different characters that they can either relate to, that you can connect to. The world is interesting. The world is unique. It's just cool concepts. And I think that there's a level to it where I think on the subconscious level we're drawn to certain philosophical ideologies. But I think even just on the surface level, it's just like this stuff is cool and it's unique. There's something different about it because there's a ton of shonen manga, right? Like there's a ton of 100%. Shonen manga. Yeah, there's a ton of shonen manga. But they all have their own things, right? And we're always gonna compare them because we like competition. Naturally people like competition. They like comparing things. They like feeling like they can objectively say that one thing is better than another, even though that's not necessarily possible, but I think that's the thing.
Well, it is, but you gotta be okay with the answer. Superman is defeating Goku, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. Goku ain't beating Superman. Look, I understand,
but you're not calculating the density of Dragon Ball's Earth with the density of DC's Universe 713 Earth.
Well, they're not calculating the densities of these nuts either. So,
And on that note, I think that it is time for us to wrap up.
Well, this has been the Ranger, better than a stranger, the King of Dreams, looking so clean with his 9 rings, talking to you with all geek and culture here with his partner,
Lord Third, your number one trash player, aka the Garbage Goat. Hopefully it has been a fun time. We enjoy talking about these things. If you guys ever have anything that you want us to talk about, anything that you're curious about, be sure to hit us up on Facebook, Twitter. We are available to hear you out. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you want to say, and we would love some subjects. We love some ideas of things to talk about. So if you're listening and you want to hear our take on certain things, drop us a line and we'll get back to you, and may even give you a shout out on the air if you're cool with that. So we have been the SLY Guys delivering.
Or if you're not cool with that, we'll do that.
We have been the SLY Guys.
If you're not cool with that, we're going to do it anyway because we love you.
Takes on all things nerd and culture. Love you guys. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Have a nice time, y'all. Signing out.